Hi, my name is David Garcia, and I'm the CEO of Scout Logic. Welcome to the next installment of our Win the Recovery series. We're fortunate today that Liz Landon, the Chief Human Resources Officer for Heartland Alliance, is joining us today. Liz has a tremendous work history experience and most recently has focused heavily in HR leadership roles for the not-for-profit industry, and she'll be sharing her insights and practical advice for us today. Liz, thanks so much for joining us. Liz, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, David.
Great. So as part of our Win the Recovery series, we'd like to ask HR leaders like you 3 questions. Our first one is, how has COVID-19 impacted your industry?
Okay, my industry, so I'm in the middle of changing jobs, so I'll try to speak to both. My current industry is the performing arts industry. My previous role was as Vice President of Human Resources for the Lyric Opera of Chicago. And as you can imagine, the performing arts have been hit extremely hard by COVID-19. There really is not an art form more in the crosshairs of this pandemic than large-scale events like opera, where we would typically seat 3,000 folks in our huge theater for 3 to 4 hours, watching a cast of 100 and over 70 orchestra members in the pit. So it is really hitting us in a very profound way. With that said, our industry's been around for 400 years, so opera definitely has staying power, and our organization is huge and will weather this storm. But the course of the next year is extremely uncertain, and we'll need to take it bit by bit as the science and things change in our economy and in our state, to the extent that we are allowed to reopen and invite audiences into our house and invite artists into our rehearsal space, which you can imagine is also very complicated, and the return to work measures and the safety measures involved in that are really complex when you're dealing with singers and musicians and artists. But we'll take it one step at a time, and that's, hasn't been good in the performing arts.
I think that's what you can do right now is one step at a time.
Exactly, one step at a time. As I say, you take in the data you have today and you plan for the next few weeks. And it's very hard to do anything beyond that because it changes. And I think we've all seen that in the environment. My new role at Heartland Alliance, where I'll be the chief HR officer, is a little different. Heartland works directly with participants in medical and housing and human services facilities. So those essential workers are on the ground every day and have been since day one of the pandemic, and providing them the safety and structure to do their job is really paramount. So that will be the COVID concerns there. When it comes to the administrative staff at Heartland Alliance, the philosophy is to keep those workers out of the system as much as possible. If you can work from home, you can see I'm on my patio, you should work from home, because that takes excess capacity out of public transportation and parking, and keeps it free for the essential workers who need to be there.
Yep. Absolutely, it makes sense, Liz. And you talked about one day at a time, which is how we're trying to thrive here at Scout Logic as well. But what's been so challenging about this is when we started doing these interviews 3 weeks ago, I think everyone felt that the country was on an upswing when it came to test results. And just this past week, obviously that's turning in many, many states. We do live day to day, but also as business leaders, we do try to look out a bit so we can help advise the businesses that we're a part of. Kind of what's your crystal ball see for the next few months here relative to your industry?
I don't think it's going to be good. My sense, and I'm an avid news watcher and consumer of all things public domain, that this pandemic will be with us until there is a vaccine or highly effective treatments. Here in Illinois, where I work, our governor has laid out stage 5 to be when there is a vaccine or highly effective treatments, and only then can you really resume anything close to normalcy. And I do believe that's true, given the fact that things have gone up and down, and we've seen changes in case counts and hospitalization rates around the country. It pays to be safe right now. There's no logic in my mind to be overly ambitious in terms of opening back up, except to those enterprises where you can do so with extreme caution.
Yeah, employee and customer safety first, of course.
Absolutely. And we've taken a very strict hierarchy of controls approach at the Lyric Opera. And the rule number one of safety in a hierarchy of controls is to avoid the risk altogether.
Yep.
And therefore, that is what we are doing at every possible turn, is keeping our employees safe by helping them avoid the risk.
Well, that's a great segue into our last question, which is, what is some practical advice you have for HR leaders as they try to navigate this crisis?
Be nimble. Be nimble. As much as you want to prognosticate what it will be like in 6, 12, or 18 months, that is absolutely impossible right now. And the data is changing very quickly. So staying on top of the best practices and information, which is coming in spades from the law firms and from the government, and other resources, the Boston Consulting Group. There are some organizations that are really trying to put best practices in our hands on a weekly basis, and you need to digest it on a weekly basis in order to make decisions, even for the next 10 to 14 days. You can't see farther than that, in my opinion, right now. So being smart, being nimble, and planning in short-term increments is really the best thing that you can do, and to help your colleagues and teammates do the same. The propensity to plan is very entrenched for some folks, and you're going to have to help them get over that.
I think it's great practical advice, Liz. You know, so many HR leaders I talk to, they're inundated with work right now just because of the sheer change to their business. But you know, you really hit on that important piece is there's so much information coming at us, making sure you budget some time to really stay up to date on best practices so you can help your company and your colleagues, I think is really great advice we can all take away. So I thank you so much for carving out some time from your busy schedule, and good luck to you in the new job.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
All right. Thanks, Liz.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Liz, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your insights. For those of you who've been enjoying our Win the Recovery series, if you'd like to see more interviews like this, just go to our website at www.scoutlogicscreening.com. Look under the resources section and you'll see our other video interviews with thought leaders like Liz. Thank you so much and good luck in your own Winning the Recovery.